weather leader fan radio network.
Bring gas.
And KFAN.com. Very well played by Brett Blakemore back at headquarters. 2 minutes, 14 seconds past the hour, 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. We welcome you back to a very special, perhaps even emotional edition of the Bumper to Bumper program from downtown Minneapolis. Fortunately, we are not outdoors. We are the Skyway level, Target Center, back at the Target Center cage for the first time during the 2025-26 National Basketball Association season. Unless I forgot, were we here once before?
No, this is the first time.
This is first,
yeah.
And this is late, admittedly, but it's about time. So we're delighted to be here. Guardsy is back. Sounds like Common is still in the chair as well.
Looking for his keys or lunch.
Something.
Yeah.
And my name is Dan Barreiro, former Inkstand Wretch, newspaper of the Twin Cities. We are going the distance today?
I believe so, yeah.
3 until 6:30. We have an outstanding array of guests that will be part of the festivities today. Several of them on location here at the cage spot where there is no discernible wind chill in the Target Center Skyway, right? Makes
it's nice.
Big difference.
Oh, yeah.
It?
No wind?
No.
No temps? No exploding trees?
No,
I know you've gotten into that.
This booth has been improved and enhanced over the years. We've got fancy new headsets, which means nothing to the audience, but everything to us, because generally over the years, there's a 50-50 chance that when we wrapped up the show, if we were staying and went down to the media area, somebody would look at my right ear and go, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
And it would be a piece of the headset, rubber piece of the headset that had adhered to my earlobe. That has been taken care of now. New equipment. They might want to update the signage. And they still might want to close circuit to A-Rod and Mark Laurie. Fix your audio system so that we could actually be piped in to the Skyway area. I mean, is that too much to ask at some point?
Hopefully by the playoffs, they'll have that thing ironed out.
You know what we're going to ask? The CEO. We'll talk to the CEO. We'll try to get the CEO going on that subject. He is joining at, what time is it, 5:30?
5:30, yep.
Matt Caldwell?
Yes.
Who I've met once, had a nice conversation with him at his palatial, well, he had several offices. You know what I noticed about CEOs? They not only have several offices, they have several cell phones.
Oh, they have to.
I think he had like 4 different cell phones.
Yeah.
One's not enough.
Right.
Apparently 2 is not enough. So maybe we'll talk to him about that. A lot to get to regarding the increases that were in terms of ticket prices, season ticket prices especially. A lot of reaction, a lot of fear and loathing on that. We'll get into that subject with him.
You heard the news.
Arena.
Well, you heard the other follow-up that I don't think I even told you. Our price to broadcast here today was increased by 15%.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was part of the release.
Who knew?
Buried in there for us to come down to the Skyway. Out of nowhere, we got kicked up 15 to 18%.
Who gets that money?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe Alan Horton.
Go to the new arena?
I'd be fine with that, actually.
Alan Horton's going to join on location at 4:30?
Yes.
Johnny Athletic at 4 o'clock. I had texted Belinda, but just about 20 minutes ago, to see if she wanted to do a quick weather hit. We know a lot of schools have already announced they're closing tomorrow. This will be one of the rare occasions where I will not mock that issue or that decision, because it sounds as if, well, here's what's weird. I thought I heard earlier today that the worst wind chills are actually going to be like from now until tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And then the temperatures stay well below zero tomorrow, but the winds are actually going to subside a little bit. So is it maybe the next 12 hours are the worst of it when it comes to the combo platter? They're talking about wind chills of minus 40. And I've told you this before. This is the weather I associate with my introduction to Minnesota.
Sure.
I felt for years like, where is the real authentic Minnesota cold? Where did it go? Because I just don't feel like we've had as much of it, even though apparently every once in a while we have. But I think this is considered the coldest stretch for a sustained period since like 2019.
That sounds
what
right.
I read.
Yeah.
Like 6 years ago.
Was that the polar vortex era?
That was either that or the bomb cyclone era, one or the other.
I'm trying to remember.
One or the other. And this is the first time we've been told to worry about, as we discussed at the top of the show yesterday, exploding trees. So
is that real?
Well, here's the way it was explained to me. It's real but it's also a terroristic term because they don't, when you say exploding trees, you think they're, like branches are going to be impaling people in the forehead.
Right, like a bomb's going off.
Exactly. Yeah. Like a bomb cyclone. In this case, it's like they might crack.
Got it.
But they're not any danger to you.
Okay.
Now, I guess if you have one close enough to your house, there's always a chance in ice and certain kind of weather that they could end up on your house. Luigi told us that he had a tree at one of his mansions that barely missed, like a big-time tree that came down. So it's the exploding part that got the attention.
For sure.
And that's why he had the weather. I can't remember the name of the weather guy who did this, a national guy. He got, of course, 7 million clicks. So he's saying, I won. He's saying, you can be mad at me.
That's
you can
right.
say I'm overstating something. I'm terrorizing. But we all gave him what he wanted, which was the attention. And so he'll probably be just as likely to do it again. What fascinated me was it was another term I literally had never heard of before. It had never. Once in my life. Go, oh. And people know me, and they immediately brought it to my attention over the last 12 to 18 hours. But this is now there was a big controversy at Minnetonka High School about how to properly handle the weather situation that turned into kind of a semi-insurrection.
Oh, boy.
So, and I use that term very loosely, not in the literal sense. So the deal yesterday was email goes out. Here's what we're going to do. This is finals week. But we're so convinced that we're probably going to have to close Friday that we're going to move the Friday final schedule. We're going to find a way to wedge it into Thursday.
Oh.
And not surprisingly, people said, not going to work.
Right. We planned for these.
We planned for these. Some of our kids have schedules. They're doing other things. You're asking for too much from them. You can't possibly be serious. So the pushback must have worked. So the backpedal, the Sirwanga was, we're going to probably close Friday. In fact, now I think that's official there in a lot of schools.
Yep.
And what we'll do, even though Monday is already a scheduled off day,
which is classic,
we will move Friday stuff to Tuesday, even though that's supposed to be the first day of the next quarter or next semester, whatever the hell it is. So there's always, somebody who's going to get annoyed no matter what you do. But that one never made a lot of sense to me on the front end, that you're going to try to wedge. It's almost like, no, you got to figure out a different day on the back end of this thing. And so apparently all's well that ends well. And I'm assuming other schools have already called it quits.
I think a lot of them.
For the reasons of...
Yep.
So this is real Minnesota weather we're getting, right? This is authentic Minnesota weather. I'm not saying I'm reveling in it because I don't particularly like it.
No.
But I feel like, this is what I've felt like has been missing for so long.
Well, it's the weather that when you're in Eugene, Oregon, like I was yesterday, and you meet some people that are in town from Los Angeles, it's the weather that leaves them speechless. Like they can't even fathom how it even works.
Correct.
And we met a couple from LA last night.
What's the coldest it will get in Oregon?
In Oregon, probably 30s.
30s, right? Yeah. They don't get much below that.
That'd be my guess. It was like 40s or 50s while we were there. But the people from LA, like the look on their face when you tell them what the weather is coming, what we're going back to. By the way, the LA people it was 50 degrees yesterday, and they were bundled up in North Face and hats and couldn't believe it. And I'm wearing basically a polo. But they just look at you like you're from another planet. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's going to be 20 below zero? And
it's not relatable for a lot of people.
It's not. You can tell it just made no sense to them how it even worked. That's the type of weather stretch that we're in right now.
Well, again, I think historically, my position has sort of been, let's not lose our minds because it does happen. It is January in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But even by those standards, I think this is stuff where you go, you probably don't want to prove you're tough guy in this weather. Here's the litmus test for me. Does Ben Gessling, tomorrow, will he run 15 miles outside tomorrow with a wind chill approaching minus 40?
I don't know about the length, but I guarantee you he will probably run.
Because he feels like, I want to prove to you that nothing stops me?
Yes, it's a badge of honor.
Which doesn't mean it's sensible.
No, it's stupid.
Yeah. Even if you're capable of doing it.
Yes.
But he'll probably do it.
I think he probably will, especially if word gets back to him that we've challenged him on the radio or the podcast. Yes, I think he will do it.
How popular how well populated will the many, many cycling paths and lanes that we have in, for example, the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, how many of them will be used
there'll be
the next
some.
24 hours?
I bet there'll be some. They'll put the fat tires out. But do the gears even work when it's this cold?
That's what I'm
I feel
wondering.
like the bike would just freeze and not be able to even move.
So this is, for me, layers weather. The key to this isn't the bulk of the big jacket you have, even though today I am wearing a big jacket that I hardly ever wear. It's giving yourselves layers, correct?
Yes.
Like right now, how many layers do you have on, if that's not too personal?
I mean, honestly, I'm not that
T-shirt
layered up.
and a hoodie?
Yeah.
You even have a T-shirt on?
Yes.
Okay, so I've got long underwear and pants, which probably is a good idea here at Target Center Skyway
Thank
area.
You.
Yeah.
We all thank you. Matt Caldwell, thanks
But I sometimes put like an overshirt on top of the undershirt and then another hoodie.
Yep.
Because to me, that's the key to this thing.
Of course.
And long underwear, I think it continues to be the single most underrated
I'm with you there.
item for anybody who has to live in this climate, even when it's not minus 50.
What's the sock situation? Are you regular cotton? Do you go with wool?
No, I don't go. My feet sweat too much in wool.
Okay.
I don't do well with the wool.
Because that's been
wool?
I mean, historically, lately, yes, not today.
Yeah.
But it's a sensible move.
It is.
It's a good move.
For a lot of people, it works. I just don't like. I don't like what it does to my feet. Unfortunately,
Anthony Edwards' feet. After is what you're saying. Got it.
That's exactly it. All right. So, have I laid out the entire guest lineup?
Yeah.
I think I did. There is some A-section every day. There's A-section developments, which we'll get into, including the arrest. Well, I think the arrest of at least two big shots, including Nakima Levy Armstrong. I think that's the name. Mm-hmm. That's getting a lot of attention. She was involved in the church protest, which we talked about extensively with Kessler yesterday. A couple interesting things have been written about that. The vice president, is he already gone? He was here. I'm curious to know how that went. Did he take questions from the Jackals? Were the Jackals combative with him? Were they conciliatory with him? How did that go? We maybe get some answers there. And if you want to answer those questions, Dan Barreiro, KFAN, because we are not on location. Oh, we should say we are on location. We're not chatting with you from the studios. So the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line, not as big a deal for us today as well. So let's get our first pause in. We'll update you on a couple of other stories, and maybe Belinda will call in as well. And we'll get a little more scientific data regarding the weather cold snap that that has just apparently commenced and is expected to last to varying degrees throughout the entire weekend. Back from Target Center Cage in a minute.
Before we go, the fan wants to give you a shot to win bonus bucks to the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword for this hour is friend. Keyword friend, KFAN.com. Keyword friend. Never miss your chance to know what the latest sports news is in town, chances to win tickets. Just know what's going on with your favorite KFAN shows. You can follow the fan, KFAN 1003, on all of our social channels like Instagram, TikTok, X. Stay connected with the sports leader, the fan.
From Target Center location, Sean Salisbury is scheduled to join us, not from here, to talk football playoffs and Vikings leftover stuff as well. But the bat signal has been put out for Fox 9 weather superstar Ian Leonard, and he is indeed kind enough to join us via the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN. No, that's the text line. That's very different. The Connecticut Water Systems phone connection. Ian Leonard, how are you?
I'm good. How many sponsors are there? I can't keep
that's
straight.
Not enough. Never enough.
That's a great question, actually. How are you holding up, man? This is, this is you in your, in your wheelhouse, is it not? What we have on its way or kind of here?
Absolutely. You can be happy, I think, being the old Maytag repairman and just sitting around and twiddling your thumbs. It's not my deal. I don't like being that way, and I'm pretty sure I not to speak for you or Justin, you probably don't want that either. You always want something to talk about it.
Yep.
And now we've got it. And unfortunately, the kind of weather we're talking about here it has a tactile touch to it, but only if you go outside. Now, when there's snow and you look out the window, you're like, oh my God, I'm not going outside. I don't want to drive. Yep. Everyone hunker down. We're having frozen pizza for dinner tonight. On this side, you look out the window, you can't really see the cold. But it is going to be there, and it is going to be it's going to be mind-numbing, the cold, first thing tomorrow morning. And unfortunately, it results in cancellations and closings. And you think about the pond hockey championships and all the people who work so hard for stuff like that. And it's brutal. It's nasty, but it's dangerous. And it's hard to get people to stand up and say, "Well, okay, I won't go outside because it's windy." It just doesn't have the same romantic qualities as don't go outside because we're talking about feet of snow.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think this is where they can more likely to get the message. I had low air in one of my tires, and on the way in to Target Center, I made a stop at a gas station. It was one of those things where it was like the spot for the air was the perfect wind tunnel. And again, this isn't, I don't think, the worst of it yet. And after about 2.5 minutes, I mean, I felt half dead. So I'm assuming that people will appreciate it if they find themselves in a position where they have to be out in it, even with the right equipment, for longer than like 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, and that's the perfect point. It's about having the right gear. And I'll tell you right now, I don't think anybody locally is hanging around with like Mount Everest summiting type gear in their closet just in case it gets this cold. Because tonight, even by about 9 or 10 tonight, actual air temperature will be 15 below. So just on its face, the air temperature is brutal. And then you factor in these just light winds out of the northwest. I think we're about 35 below wind chill near about 9 p.m. But first thing tomorrow morning, it's going to be awful. You think they've already started with the school closures, and rightfully so.
Yes.
The air temperature is 19 below.
So tell me, the worst of the combination of cold and wind of this entire period will be tomorrow morning. Is that correct?
Yeah, smack you in the face first thing from say 3 to 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. So it's the entire commute, it's the entire bus stop forecast. It's all of those, but it really gets slack as we get into Saturday. We lose the wind, so we lose the wind chill. It's still going to be cold.
Yeah,
I don't want to promise anybody that it's going to be downright balmy and you can head to a beach on Saturday. We're still talking air temperature Saturday morning. Wake up at 12 below. I mean, you know what the hardest part for me is? I've said the word below about 380 times in 2 days.
You have no choice. That's part of the story.
I know, but I'm searching for new term, vernacular.
Yeah, well, you're agile with the terminology. You'll find something. Help me with this part of the story without getting too technical. For those of us who are not very good at following the most technical stuff, what exactly is this whole weather system that is causing this? And is this all part of the same system that's supposed to pummel big sections of the South with, in some cases, snow, in some cases, ice, and a lot of cold as well? Is this all part of the same package?
It is, yeah. We're one of the ingredients to that package. We're the cold. And somebody texted me yesterday and said, "Oh, this is crazy. It's just like the polar vortex." And I said, "No, this is a different pattern. It still results in the same thing for us. It's nasty cold. It's dangerous cold." But Dan, if you were to look at a national map right now, I'm staring at one right now. There are, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, and California are the only states in the lower 48 that do not have some form of a winter weather warning.
Man.
And that, you look, so the winter storm warnings go from all of Texas through Oklahoma into Kansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, the Ohio River Valley, and stretch through parts of northern Georgia to the Carolinas and all the way northeast to Boston. But Atlanta could see an inch of freezing rain. Well, you know what that does to air travel.
That's devastating.
The airport.
Yep, right.
D.C. could see up to a foot of snow. New York could see 15 inches of snow.
Wow.
This is that kind of crippling storm that lingers for days for people who want to travel, or you ordered something, from, like we all do, from Amazon. Where's my new mittens?
Yeah,
and,
right.
No, they're stuck somewhere. They're not coming. But it's a massive system, and we're a little old part of it in terms of where we sit in the grand scheme of things.
So is this stew? I mean, how does it get concocted? I mean, is it just an unusually strong cold front from Canada that with somehow colliding with some moisture opportunity? How do we get to this, and how unusual is it even by average winter standards?
Well, we haven't had a storm set up like this in some 40 plus years down to the south. And if you look at a map, it's repeating areas of low pressure over Hudson Bay, and they swing down these Arctic cold fronts, and that's what's hitting us. And then the jet stream drops down as far south as Missouri. With the jet stream in play here, you think about a car on a NASCAR track. Like, you're going 220 miles down the straightaway, and you turn the wheel, but the car still really wants to go straight. That's why they bank those corners. So in meteorology, I'm going to get in the weeds for you here. Grab your weed whacker. I'm ready.
Absolutely.
In meteorology, we call it a vorticity maximum, a vort max.
Oh.
It's the amount of spin you can impart on a parcel of air as it runs through a corner, as it runs through a curve. And that curve is the jet stream. The jet stream is actually going to spawn its own personal area of low pressure over the Carolinas by about late Friday night into Saturday. And that becomes the big moisture engine for all of this cold air that we're throwing down toward the mid-Atlantic.
How's
that? I mean, we're talking NASCAR, we're talking vorticity.
That was well done, because you found a way. You used a good analogy that more people can relate to, and you didn't get too nerdy with it. I think that was a perfect combination. We're tight on time because we got Sean Salisbury at the bottom of the hour. Let me ask you a more general question. I have maintained, as a person who grew up in the Chicago area, that at times, if I'm in downtown Chicago and it's 20 degrees above, I have sometimes felt colder than I have felt here when it's 0 or -5, on the basis of the likelihood that the dampness of the cold in Chicago, based on Lake Michigan, actually makes it feel more bone chilling. Is that provable, demonstrable? Do you agree with that, or is that nonsense?
110% correct. And my anecdotal evidence there is my parents were from England, and my mom, and we would call it, that's spelled M-U-M in this case. My mom would say the damp cold goes right through you.
Yeah.
You'd have to wear 3 coats, and you still get cold when the air is damp. It has a different varying degree on everybody, but I think you're 100% right. I didn't know you were from Chicago. I got to start talking slower.
Well, put it this way. I say I'm from Chicago. I was actually born in Gary, Indiana, but that gets ripped so much that I tend to fudge on that a little bit, even though I spent the first 12 years of my life in the Steel City, Gary, Indiana. I wish we had more time. You're the best. Outstanding work on short notice. We appreciate you, and we'll be in touch. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. Stay warm. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care. Ian Leonard with great stuff all across the board. Ben, you never know who you're going to run into at the Target Center Skyway, isn't it?
It's unbelievable.
I mean, there's basketball executives coming our way. Then you may find a baseball executive out of nowhere.
And a manager.
It's as good as it gets.
They look like they're in lockstep.
Yeah,
they're aligned in their vision.
It's early.
Well, exactly.
It's early.
We just signed a reliever. Didn't we bring back Tayraj?
We did.
Yeah.
I think for $2 million.
We should have pulled him in.
Yeah, we probably should have. Bottom of the hour break. Sean Salisbury is coming up. An array of outstanding characters stopping by our Target Center caged location as well before we wrap things up at 6:30. Don't go away. Well, there'll be a decent amount of basketball conversation today from, given our location, Target Center's cage. The Wolves back in action tonight, hosting the Chicago Bulls. But there's going to be some football discussion right now with our good friend Sean Salisbury, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Mr. Salisbury, how are you?
Doing well, Dan. How are you, buddy?
We're doing well. We just had a weather guy on. We're having, even by Minnesota standards, an extraordinary cold snap that will drop wind chills tomorrow morning to -40. which doesn't even seem possible, but you've been here long enough to know that it's possible every once in a while. So this is like the coldest weather, I guess, the coldest, I guess, front or weirdest front, most intense in like 40 years, apparently.
And we're complaining here because Sunday it's going to be 26 degrees and 41 high. And we're like, what in the world? Everybody, you go to the grocery store and the apocalypse started. And you guys are walking around in short sleeves at 40 degrees or 26 degrees. Yes, I do know. And Dan, that's that's the thing that stood. And having played in Minnesota, I was prepared for that because of Winnipeg, obviously.
Oh, that's right.
It was. Remember that was where I went. And our great, God rest his soul, Paul Wiggin, and it brought me in and that group. Boy, I love that man, and I'm sure a lot of people in Minnesota, everybody in Minnesota does. But when I brought me there, it's like we never practiced. We didn't have an indoor practice facility at the Peg. So when it was bad, we went through like my first year, they're like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days in a row where it was minus 40, 45 wind chill. And it was crazy. And it was the first time I'd ever experienced pull into a grocery store and happen to, all the cars have those plug-ins where you plug them in to go to the grocery store. I'm like, what? And then you try it once, you say, come on. And then 20 minutes later, you come out, car doesn't start. We had to practice, Dan. We did. Our stadium was our practice. We had a grass field, not a huge one, but good enough where you could do full. And then we had our stadium right next to it. And it did not matter. I can remember one day for practice. That was the year we won the Grey Cup, too. Maybe we were just tough-minded because it was that bad. But we had it snowed like crazy. And then the cold hit. It was too cold to snow. So, that snow kind of started to freeze over like ice. They had the skip loaders out there moving it, and we had like 25 yards of practice field because it was piling up. And I'm like, man alive, I'm from San Diego. What am I doing? We would have won a Grey Cup. I end up playing in Minnesota. So I do get it. I just don't want to get it very long. So please be safe out there. It was, and I'm not going to complain one bit about 26 degrees in Houston.
Is there such a thing with that, experience of, as insane as it sounds, you actually acclimating or getting used to it? Or do you never get used to it? You just get through it because you got to get through it?
Yeah, I think when we hear, they've been in it before, they get used to it. Let me ask you this. You're in Minnesota. When I was there, I never got used to having coffee and waking up the next morning after you're in it for 2 years. In my third year in Minnesota, decide, you know what, I'm used to this. No, you just learn to adapt and adjust. Yeah. And it kind of goes with playing.
Yes.
And I was fortunate in my career, when we had some really good games, not only in Winnipeg, but the game in Denver when it was snowing and cold games. And I don't know why that is, but especially a kid from San Diego and California. But
sure.
I think it's mental. I always used to watch Favre talk about this, or guys like, when back in the day when Bud wouldn't let him wear gloves when they practice, you do build up a mental toughness to it because, both teams got to play.
No question.
We got to show up. They're not canceling the game due to cold. If it's, it can be 95 degrees and lightning, we're canceling it. It can be minus 56 or 59, Dan Fouts against Cincinnati. San Diego. And they're not canceled, which you can't even. Bob Hayes in the in the ice bowl.
Yes, ice bowl.
His hands in his pants. Right. So we don't cancel. So you just got to point, well, if I'm going to be freezing, and then they are too. So you just kind of learn to deal with it. And it really does come down. When people ask me, I said, I think it's just mental toughness. You're never used to it. You adapt to it, and it's brutal and it's miserable, but you got no choice because you're not going to make the excuse, well, it was too cold for us. Nobody wants to hear that.
There's an art to it, clearly, and maybe you touched on, maybe it's more mental than physical. Because I remember all the previews that were done before the Rams-Bears game. Yep. And, people say, well, you can't say the Rams can't handle it because they've got a lot of players who grew up in colder conditions. But my assumption was, over a period of time, if you're used to practicing in 70 degrees, no matter where you grew up, I would tend to think that it would make it harder to get prepared. Now, ultimately, the Rams held in, and they won that game. But do you buy that notion that it can be more challenging if, for a period of time, you're practicing day after day in conditions that are very different than what they were in Chicago and what they are here right now?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. When we say you got to adapt, listen, part of adapting is how do you adjust your practice schedule? And I remember when Bernsey was ours, when we'd go play Tampa, we adjusted the other way. We wanted to go practice and we had our little bubble on the field there. But we wanted to go. We went there and we got our rear end handed to us. We were there like 4 days early. It was a business trip, but we didn't play like it. And it was like 85 degrees there, right?
Yes.
And so we went there and go a couple days early, other than the day before. And it does, but the reverse is definitely true, because what happens is while the mental toughness does come into play, the week leading up to that, where you got to be mentally tough. Well, the cold's still going to be cold. The ball's going to feel like a shot put, 10-pound shot put, catching it, throwing it, kicking it, getting hit. But it's the practice time leading up in preparation that this is the stuff that we've done all year. Are we going to be able to get this done if we're outdoor practicing it? And you sure don't want to practice indoors if you're preparing for it. And how do you simulate it if you're the Rams?
Right,
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? I understand you simulate it if you're the Packers, because you also will just take the week and practice in it. So you try to, but it's still going to be cold. It's still a pain in the rear end, and it's still the execution of it. And you may have 22 guys that are good with it. You may have 24 other cats that are like, let me get through this. And the worst thing about it, Dan, and that's why, look, when you go from hot to cold, eventually, like the big fellas, they're playing, they're hitting every time. So they start to roll in, and some of them will even work up a sweat in 25 degrees. God bless the big fellas that are playing every snap and beating on somebody. The worst part is halftime. I've been in a couple games where it's so cold and we were playing in that Giants playoff game in Minnesota, and it was that wet cold, where it's raining and mist, but it's cold enough. The wind's blowing in the Meadowlands. Going into halftime sucked, because what happened is, now you loved it going in, but it's 12 minutes and you're coming back out and you got to rewarm. It's like I wanted to do like we did high school. It's halftime. Go over there and grab some soup on the sidelines, and let's all stay out here and start halftime 5 minutes later. Regardless of what TV wants us to do. So, yes, there isn't. Listen, if it was that easy, everybody'd have those great records and could do it like Fran did, or like Tarkenton, or like Favre. But yeah, it's a pain in the rear end. But it really does come down to, listen, it's 10 degrees. The ball's going to be a problem. And you saw some drops in those games.
You did, for sure.
New England game, we saw drops, and it does affect you. But I'm convinced that the practice time leading into it and mental toughness are probably the two things you'd have to overcome.
Sean Salisbury, kind enough to join us on this Thursday afternoon. I know you know Chuck Foreman. We've had Chuck on many times over the years. Great loyal listener to this program, and obviously an all-time great of Minnesota Viking. He used to tell us stories back in the Met Stadium days of some mysterious concoction that either the trainers or somebody with the Vikings came up with, that they would have. Wasn't it at halftime, Guardsy? They'd go into the locker room at halftime, and there'd be all these little glasses of whatever this mysterious drink was. They'd drink it, and it would warm them up a little bit and feel a little bit better. I don't know that he's ever told us. I don't even know if he knew what that was about. So there are endless stories, in lore, of cold weather lore, that goes to that sort of thing, where somebody comes up with some idea that allegedly is going to help you. I don't know if you ever had that kind of opportunity, but he did.
We didn't have that because we didn't have to play at Metropolitan Stadium.
That's true.
There, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The practice part of it. My philosophy on that is don't know, don't ask. Just give me one.
Yes.
And if you want to turn it into a business opportunity, then do know, do ask, do tell, and find us how we can bottle it and sell it for $1 billion, because everybody wants it. But yeah, Chuck. Listen, Chuck was Marcus Allen, who was LaDainian Tomlinson, who was Marshall Faulk, the ability to catch and run, all that.
That's it.
So I'm not arguing with Chuck. Hey, listen, old school, there's a lot of ways you had to get by. And yes, I know Chuck well and his son Jay. As a matter of fact, I just talked to Jay in the last couple of days. So love the family and such admiration for the way Chuck went about his game, too. And I'm sure he made it look like the cold didn't bother him.
No, he was.
He was tough as 100-year-old leather. No doubt.
The spin doctor, one of the great nicknames for him, because the ability he had to kind of pirouette on the field. All right. Give me for you your biggest surprise over the divisional round weekend that just concluded. What surprised you or shocked you the most, if anything?
How bad and far C.J. Stroud's fallen.
Oh, yeah.
You carries over into the. Now, listen, he can still throw it and play. It doesn't mean he's a hack. He's a good player. But just how inefficient. They would have lost to Pittsburgh if Pittsburgh doesn't score 2 touchdowns. He laid it on the ground 4 or 5 times. The turn it over, 10 or 11 times, 9 times in 2 games?
Yeah.
And he struggled for the last 2 years. If I go back to his rookie year and show you tape to now, just on the way he's handling the skittish part of it in the pocket, If you'd have told me we were going to look like this 2 years later, I'd have been shocked. That's one of them. And the fact that I know that we are so quarterback-centric, Dan, in the league, but I've been preaching this, but the Buffalo Bills, it was good, good game, but just how reliant, and it can be a great thing, but it can also be negative, how reliant they are on, if Josh Allen doesn't play great, they're not winning.
Yeah, good point.
He proved it. He turns them, and I know that's a burden to bear. That's part of being a great player. But I think those two stick out. And just, people, what about the 49ers? Well, the 49ers, you and I almost played on their roster with their injury, right? So
yeah, I caught up with them.
Yeah, it sure did. And you know what? Maybe on the other side, who I think is going to end up being a coach, De'Aaron Grable, just how tough both of their team is on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
I know we talk about the quarterback, but Dan, if I were to say, and you're a big football guy, and so am I, at the beginning of the year, if I'd have said, give me 8 of their starters on offense, could you have done it?
No chance.
Agreed. And I'm not sure the guys who are doing the game, like the opener, without looking at their play sheet, their call sheet, and all, would have known how to, their boards would have known how to do it either. They kind of remind me of Indiana. A lot of guys, maybe you don't know, some stars, Diggs and Drake Mays becoming one, Mendoza and a good receiver. But in truth, you kind of go in and they just do everything. They don't beat themselves. Indiana never beat themselves.
No.
Goes undefeated. And there's teams that are more talented than New England, but the buy-in that they've got from Vrabel and the way they're playing. So, I mean, I just named you 3 or 4, but the biggest one for me is, and maybe it's because I'm located in Houston, is just how poor C.J. Stroud played in the 2 playoff games, and in particular the last round.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to overstate that. You're 100% right. And obviously, Aikman, I think, on the broadcast talked a lot about it as well. That
yeah, he
did. It was a trial. He was pretty direct.
Yeah,
he's just not.
You know what? I like that. I like to hear that because there's some things he has to go to work on. It's not personal.
No, he doesn't do it with venom. He just lays it out, and obviously has the credibility to do it. Help me from a quarterback standpoint. Help me understand obviously the Bears-Rams game was very entertaining, very exciting. We know about, and I want to talk a little bit about the Caleb throw into the end zone that seemed to almost trump what he had done the week before on the 4th and long. But I need help from you on, it's playing out perfectly for the Bears in overtime, right? They win the toss, and what you're supposed to do with the postseason overtime rules. You basically kick, and then you'll know immediately whether you need 3-7 or whatever you need. They stop the Rams, get the punt, start driving. They get to the 50, and then of course that's when the interception took place. I saw that play as the kind of risk that you don't, or that he didn't need to take in that situation, because you're not desperate. You're in position to win the game. You're not behind. Other people said, no, it's just the receiver did the wrong route, and he's got to trust the receiver because this stuff is very sophisticated. So what did you see on that play? What do you think?
Yeah, and it's crazy. If the Bears learned how to play the first 3 quarters like they do the 4th, we'd still be talking about it.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think there's a couple factors that come into this. One, and whenever I'm watching Ben Johnson coach, I ask it every week, what are you doing? But he's a coach and he's damn good at it. But
right.
he doesn't get away from, now whether that was the first read or not, because it was down the field, it was like a sail route, he's supposed to break. I'll get to that in a second. Is Ben's not backing off, whether it's going forward on 4th down. I mean, that's who he is. And you could tell he trusts more and more, especially late, his team and his quarterback. I'm with you. As the great Tom Moore, and I may have said on this, he always used to tell us, Dan, don't play scared, just don't play scared.
Right. Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And so right, it is. And it sounds easy, but it really is that simple. And Caleb and him trying to coach him out of that will be a mistake moving forward. You just can't coach him. I don't want to coach that out of him.
Good
what
point.
I'd like to coach into him, if Caleb Williams learns how to be boring,
it's over.
Yes. I'm just telling you it is, because there's nobody. I'm talking about Lamar, Josh Allen, Mahomes. I'm just saying, when you line them up and say, let's have a superstars quarterback throwing, running, game, 11 on 11, 7. I don't care what it is. There is no more gifted, raw, skilled, no ceiling guy in this league better than him. Now, That doesn't make you a great quarterback yet. He's a spectacular talent. Where if I'm a coach, I'm thinking, man, if I can ever get him to do this, I'm going to be wearing a ring at some point. I just am, maybe more than one. On that call, first off, anybody that says it was a receiver's problem, it was. Now, you got to be judicious when you're throwing and understand the situation of the game. We're like, okay, do I pull this or do I bring it down? I would have loved to see him use his feet more in the game. They started to do it late and it cost I would have designed more runs for him because you can't tackle the dude, man. It's ridiculous. You can't. So it's unbelievable. I would have, the receiver, he started to roll out of that. He stopped on the route. But, Dan, that's one of those, if it's 12, roll to 15 or what have you, he's got to come back to 40. He's got to cut that off. If he doesn't catch it, you can't let the other guy catch it. So that's one. It was a poor effort and a crappy route. Secondly, you got to go back and you're hoping because you're trying to throw it on time and not be late with that the receiver will do that. So I see what he saw, but I would have taken that decision out of it. Not in a situation where we're down 2 touchdowns. When we're in that situation overtime, I would have made sure that the play call didn't give him an opportunity to make that throw. Does that make sense?
That does.
In wind, in cold. For a guy who's got a howitzer, that's a hard throw.
Yes, it is.
And then you got to hope the route, he doesn't slip, he cuts off the right foot, the defense is playing. They were squeezing it. I would have given him something more simple inside the numbers. I would have given him something, to take out, because a lot of times when you tell a guy, give the route, like happened to Carson Beck in the championship game, he premeditated that read from the time he broke that huddle. He did that because he had no business throwing that ball there because the safety ran at the snap. If he stares at the safety, he does not throw that ball there. Yep. So it was very similar, and it just – so to me, I would have designed a play call. We always blame it on the quarterback. Why'd you throw it, or the receiver? I think I would have designed a play to take that part of it out of it for him, sit down in a different situation. But in that situation, I needed completions. I didn't need desperation. And I needed just smart stuff, trusting who we were. And especially with your history in the fourth quarter this year, we're going to be fine, man. You don't have to make that throw. So it's a combination of both. I didn't like the call and the route. Listen, if he does it right, the ball's incomplete. You move on. But he made it too easy an interception, meaning the receiver. But the throw before that to get him there that you're talking about, I see it. It seems like I see it every week. We're saying nobody makes that throw. That may very well be the one that we're going to get to. I don't know who can do what he just did on that. I don't.
Well, you're describing good coaching though, because what you're saying is, you can put some of that on the receiver, but I have influence as the head coach to take away that even being an option that I want my quarterback to consider under those circumstances. That's a great example of how coaches can sort of take away some of that risk simply by what they call for on that play as among the options, right?
In that certain part of the game, Dan, you as a coach, this is the old, help your player help himself, keep him out of his own way. It's like an injury. We got the concussion used to be where the player would say, I'm good, when he wasn't good. So we've taken that decision away from the player to get out of his own way, right? Yep. In that situation with Ben, yes, 100%. In training, quarterbacks are doing it, and I've tested this at a camp or anything. Call a play in the huddle like when we're playing 7-on-7 or, when you're at a camp and it's competitive. Call a play that has a go route in it for a young quarterback. You know what they do? Automatically, they're throwing it. They're going to drop back and throw it because you know what they're thinking? It's a deep ball. It's spectacular. It's the home run.
Yeah.
They don't look at the coverage. Now, Caleb Williams is talented, but even as a veteran, but as a guy who's been in the league a couple years, what's the thought process? We're going down. I've played hero ball plenty this year. You're putting the ball in my hand. This is another throw I can make. He didn't anticipate, obviously, Moore's route and the rest of it. But think about now I eliminate that from him and give him 5 safer or 4 safer if you keep in the back end or 3 guys out, where he doesn't have to pull that trigger because most of us quarterbacks live with, if it's there, I'm going to rip it. Well, in that situation, I don't need you to even think about that. So when you tell a player, hey, man, we're running 989 go, they hear that, ooh, still got to read the coverage, and you still got to throw it. Now, the receiver. So if you take that out of him and say, hey, we're running 70Y option, where we got a hitch and an option route and a dig route on the backside where they're all in front of you where it's not a high-risk throw, I've taken that decision out of it. And he put it in his hands, and unfortunately the whole thing didn't work. But Ben Johnson could have helped by not having that route run, because that's a tough ball to throw in good weather indoors, let alone outdoors in that situation. I didn't believe he needed to do it, but I'm not going to question Ben Johnson's ability to call plays. I think if he had it back, he wouldn't have allowed Caleb to make that decision, because they were going just fine in the fourth quarter and overtime.
Let's finish with this. If KOC calls you tonight and asks for your counsel on what the Vikings should do at the quarterback position for 2026, would you counsel him that you are, even if you believe in JJ and don't want to give up on him at all
and I do
yet this early, and yes. I know you do, would you tell him you're obligated, coach, to give yourself a viable option that's more than just your run-of-the-mill backup quarterback, a guy who really could potentially be a starter, or at least a guy that you could hand the reins to for a number of games if McCarthy gets hurt again? What would your counsel be to KOC?
I would tell him, can we backtrack a year and you can keep Sam Darnold and let JJ learn the right way? That would be my first one. We've talked about that on here as much as I love. I just and Minnesota's loss has been Seattle's gain. Right. But we're not. We don't have that vision to go back in hindsight. We do, but we can't do it. So I'd love it if he called. My counsel would be, find me the best backup / starter that's available in this league that you think you can get. A guy like, look what Davis Mills did. I'm just using him as an example. Right. Find me a guy that if all of a sudden JJ quit during training camp and said, I'm not playing anymore. I'm gonna Andrew Luck the NFL. I got other things I want to do. I'm gonna go be the GM at Michigan. Find me the guy that can get you to the playoffs. Now I could go through a list of that, who's going to be available and all that stuff. But I would find a guy that I trusted. And Dan, I don't mean this disrespectful to the current crowd, but I'm convinced that before my time, after my time, that the area when Steve Young and Steve DeBerg and Steve Bono, there's three Steves. I like to thank myself for when Wade came off the bench when he wasn't starting. Go around the league. I felt like the depth at quarterback after the starter was far better. Yeah, I know we're throwing it more and they're putting up bigger numbers. I'm just talking about maybe the trust that coaches had in Jeff Hostetler, right?
Yeah, it's a good name. Yep.
Right. So, and I think you can. They're hard to find because I think the depth of the quarterback, the top-heavy guys are off the charts. I think the depth at the quarterback position on your own roster depth is a problem in the league because it's the most undercoached position in the league, and the only time they want to fix mechanics or get it right is when it's going wrong. Yeah, and it's always going to go wrong at some point. You say, well, why'd that happen? Well, you haven't coached mechanics since 2024. We got to keep the. Why does Tiger Woods have a golf coach? Dial in it every time. We don't coach it enough. Not saying KOC. I'm talking about NFL period. So my suggestion to him would be, don't worry about hurting anybody's feelings. This is pro sports. Don't worry about J.J. McCarthy's feelings. He'll be fine. Let him compete. He's used to it. He knows. I'm talking about in his past. He knows how to compete. Let's get it right. Find me the guy that feels like a threat to McCarthy's position. Not where he's allowed, where he's going to disrupt the locker room. But the guy that I know can win for me. Not go in and preserve a game. I'm talking about that for 4 weeks, if I need him, that he's pumping it up there and he's throwing. Then when he comes back, the coaches are like, whoa, what am I going to do now? Even though they may not play him, that's what a team needs. That's what Nick Foles gave Philadelphia when they won. You got to have a guy that you say, oh, he can start tomorrow. I'm not batting an eye. Even though JJ, is going to start it out. I want the guy who makes it difficult for me to have him on the sidelines. That's not a disruptor. I want him to disrupt the play. I don't want him to disrupt the locker room. Does that make sense?
It does. Is there a name or two that's realistic that comes to mind?
Yeah, I haven't thought about who's going to be available. Like when people say, well, what about Russ Wilson? I'm past that point.
I think I'm with you on that.
I think Russ is more concerned than probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. I think he's more concerned with the celebrity part of it than he is that stuff. And I sit here and try to think, wouldn't it be great to have? I'll tell you who can win games for you that I love, and his personality has shifted over the years. I don't even know if he's available with his contract. I haven't looked, but you know who I know can win games for you? He'll get a little careless with it. Jameis Winston can hold that down.
Interesting name.
He can rip it. He can throw it. teammates friggin' love him. He's one of the few guys in the league that he'll take the guy that's beat him out to dinner and tell him what. I mean, he has shifted the narrative on. He understands his role.
Yeah,
he would not be a disruption. They would friggin' love him. And if you got to have him for 3 weeks, guess what? You're not going into a game. Matter of fact, I'd be willing to bet you 3 weeks of Jameis Winston, Kevin at KOC. He'd shift the way he calls the game, too. Oh, I'm going to throw the ball down the field. I'm just telling you.
Yeah,
he would. And you would see yards. He's a name that just pops up because he's got kicked in the teeth. He's struggled. He's won games. He's a name that comes to mind for me. I'm going to tell you a guy who I love. I don't even know what his contract is. The McKee kid in Philadelphia. But they'd be nuts to let him go.
Yeah.
I think it's McPhee or I think it's McPhee, isn't it? I can't even.
I think that's right. Yeah, yeah.
McKee, and he didn't play that. Here I'm in football, and I can't even remember. But every time I see him,
he intrigues you.
Yes. But Jameis Winston, and if Davis Mills was available, you could trade a 4th rounder for him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or trust him, and isn't a disruptor in the locker room. You need that guy, but I also need the guy because you better count on 4 games on every team. That's the way I say. Give me 4 games.
That's
the quarterback's
the litmus test.
That's great.
You're right.
And that'll be That's how Tyler Shook is going to be the starting quarterback in New Orleans, and they're not going to draft a quarterback in the first round because of what he did for 6 weeks. You need that guy somewhere, and there's just a few names that could help. It's okay to compete. It's okay to let guys go in there and be a threat. Hell, in Minnesota, every year, Brad, Jim McMahon, Warren Moon, Wade Wilson, Rich Gannon, when they had Jeff George and Randall Cunningham and Brad Johnson. I mean, Denny he wanted his 3rd guy to be able to play, as did Bernsey. And so I need that. And that'll also test the mettle of my starting quarterback. How mentally tough is he to stave that stuff off?
All that is very fair. Excellent work as always. We will be in touch. Thanks, my friend, as always.
Sorry for keeping you so long. I love this conversation.
This is perfect. It, buddy. Absolutely perfect. Sean Salisbury, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. A lot of good football fodder with him. Johnny Athletic is in the house being Target Center Cage today. We'll make this a bit late for our top of the hour break and come back and chat with him on a number of controversial subjects. That's next here on The Fan.